Hi guys, just another quick video, this time about how to install Future Pinball either on your PC or in our case on our cabinet here. The first thing you need to do is to go to futurepinball.com and download the program Future Pinball here, this link here. There's an opportunity to download a demo table for this here also if you want to do that. That's all you need for this program. However, you will require more tables, and if you come to pinsimdb.org, you'll find a collection of 1,800 pretty good tables made by enthusiasts, but really some of them are very, very good. And again, once you've created a profile here, you can download these for free. You'll also find on VP Universe, where we created a profile quite recently, a lot of free tables also. Again, excellent quality, enthusiast produced tables that we can download for free on this. Bear in mind that if you download a table that includes this DOF links requirement, then you're going to need an extra piece of software that you can get from here. This is vpforums.org, and the DOF links link is here. You can download, once again that you've created a profile, you can download this and to use it with these tables. These tables, basically, it means that they take advantage of additional hardware that you have put into your cabinet that we don't have, but if we want to use this table, then we still need to have the files that provides. Okay, so in the meantime, I've downloaded some tables. I've downloaded the program, so I'm going to go across now and install it into the cabinet.
Okay, so the first thing I need to cover very briefly is screen layout and rotation. As you can see here, the small screen at the back, 1280 by 1024 pixels, and here the playfield monitor is 1920 by 1080. In Windows 7, open up the screen resolution and you can see exactly how these are laid out. So hardware-wise, that's the way that the monitors are plugged into the graphics card, is the way that these will be numbered. So the number 1 here refers to the Backglass monitor, and that is first in the hardware. Now the second monitor is the playfield monitor, second plugged into the graphics card. Now if you wanted to swap them around, so that the main here, you would have to physically unplug the cables and plug the cables back into the graphics card in the way that you would want. Some graphics cards, you're stuck. If this one here is plugged in via an HDMI or a VGA, and this one plugged in via a DVI, you're a little bit limited. So unless you've got multiple ports on your monitors and multiple ports on your graphics cards, then you're pretty much stuck with what you've got. You can't change the order of these other than physically changing the cables. Okay, now as you can see here on the layout, this is the way that I've got it. Although physically this monitor at the back is above the monitor, the playfield monitor, and this is the layout as far as Windows is concerned. So if you click on this monitor here, you can see this is the bank monitor. The resolution is 1080 by 900, which is the full HD, and it's the native resolution for this screen, but it's in portrait mode. Portrait mode means it's vertical. If you want to use it flat as normal going across, then you would have it in landscape, and that's generally what you would have it in landscape. But because obviously it's in a cabinet, I want to use this in portrait mode in Windows as well as in pinball software. I haven't come across any problems, but some people report problems, whereas what they should do is they should leave the monitor in landscape mode in Windows, and within the software itself, so within the pinball software itself, or PinballX or whatever pinball program that you're using, is rotate the screen within the program. Now, I've done it this way because I want to use the screen vertically in Windows. Now, if that does create problems, and it hasn't so far, then I may have to go back to landscape and then use each individual program, tell each individual program to rotate the screen as required. I've installed PinballX as is recommended by the PinballX community into the drive C, directly into root, not into program files. Now, within PinballX, I've created a folder called emulators. And within emulators is where I'm going to install the various software. Now, I've run the Future Pinball installation file that we downloaded from the website, futurepinball.com, and installed it into PinballX emulators and Future Pinball. So that is the basic vanilla installation. As you can see, there's a table directory into which I've got a couple of tables already. Some tables will require support files, and they'll be included. As you can see here, the Yoda, which I downloaded from one of the websites we looked at the beginning of the video, needs no support. So it needs no support files. Stars is another one done by a guy called Mark One, I think it is. He's really prolific and he does some great stuff. Sci-Fi Classic is the one that we downloaded from the first website there. And as you can see, this requires additional files, sound and graphics, and those are in the same folder. Now, also in the tables file, there are these ones here, demos for if you want to get into designing your own tables. Then there are demos here on how you can set some of the things up. But I just shifted them to another folder just to tidy things up. So these are the tables, some of the tables that I downloaded earlier. In here, Addams Family, Disney cartoons, the Yoda, which we've already done. The way that these will come down to you is in a zip file. Again, what we'll do is we'll just take a quick look at one here, Spyro. You can see in the folder there's an image, there's a text file with instructions, and then there's the actual table itself. We just want the table itself here to be put into PinballX, emulators, Future Pinball, and then the tables. So we're gonna copy that. I always like to use copies in case something goes wrong. You can always go back to the original, go back into the tables folder, and then we're going to just paste that in. And that's it basically. It doesn't require any support. If there was any support files required, the likelihood is it'll be in the original zip file that we downloaded. If we take a look at perhaps another one in here. Indiana Jones. Now, this Indiana Jones came down from, I think it might have been VP Universe or one of those. As you can see here, there are several versions, and some other files, custom balls. So now these aren't required. What is required is for you to choose an Indiana Jones. Physics difference there. Maybe we'll look at that one, and then you need to include these ones here: the font, the graphics, music, and there is instructions there, but we're just going to copy those files. Those are the ones that we need. We're going into tables, and then we're just going to paste them all in there. So once those are all pasted in, now that will be good to go. I'll show you now how to get those tables up and running on our dual screen setup. Okay, so what we want to do now is get some of these tables up and running. So we're going to just use an example here. This is Stars that was downloaded from one of the websites there. So we'll double click on that, and this will load the editor. Not like the other one, this one will go to the editor. In order to load it without going to the editor, we'll go through PinballX. What we want to do here first is you want to go into Preferences and set out your keys. Now I'm using the program, as I mentioned before, called Joystick. Joystick enables you to assign one of the buttons that we've got on our setup to a key press. So for example, this is number 5, equates to number 5, and number 5 in the program, in most programs, means insert a coin. This one here equates to number 1, and if I just show you that on Pinball, I don't know if you can see this, but this is basically button 8, it means number 1, and it means to start the game. This one here is the plunger. So this is the same as pressing arrow down, and I've got the shift and the controls buttons being the flippers and the nudges, and those are assigned here. This is the left shift and right shift, left nudge, right nudge.
Now we also need to set the graphics preferences. So from Future Pinball Preferences, Video Rendering Options dialog, we're interested in this area here. As far as rendering quality is concerned, rendering options, these are down to personal preference, but these ones here we must set to tell the program how we've laid out our cabinet, or if we're using it on just say a desktop single monitor, for example. If you look at a screen resolution, there's a checkbox here. Use the second monitor for the back box. Second monitor means the second monitor in our layout. By highlighting this, it gives us the option to change playfield details and back box details. So the first thing is, if we highlight playfield, then monitor is display 1 in our view, and the resolution available 1080 by 1920, which is exactly what we have here. We are running it in full screen, and we're running it in arcade mode. Now, arcade mode means that Future Pinball will render the table flat, filling up the full screen as if you're looking down on it. If you don't have arcade mode, then you'd be looking at it as if you were looking from the front, which you would use if you were playing it on a normal landscape single monitor setup. Now the aspect ratio here is highlighted as 4:3. This is a widescreen monitor. It makes no difference. Basically, this just allows you to change some of the resolution. It gives you additional resolution options. The rotation we've got down here, no rotation. That's because our screen is already rotated within Windows. This program does not need to rotate it. So if we click here, the back box, now go to the back box option. Our back box is display number 2 in our layout. The resolution 768 by 1024. These resolutions, if you take a quick glance, are all portrait resolutions, and our Backglass is landscape. So we need to change the resolution of the Backglass. So the way that we're going to do that is, because we can't do it in here, we're going to go into the registry. The registry, as you know, is where the computer keeps, and all of the software keeps most of its important variables, variables that will remain intact once a program is unloaded, of course. So we're going to start the registry editor by typing regedit, go to computer, H key, current user, the software folder, go to the Future Pinball folder, and then the game player folder. You see second monitor height, double click on that. The value initially is hexadecimal, decimal is what we want, 1024, that's the height in pixels. I've already changed that, because obviously it was what we set
it to in the preferences in the program. Go to the second monitor width and change from hexadecimal to decimals. 1280 is the correct width for that. So again, just click OK on that if you've changed it from the 1024,768 that we chose from the drop-down list. Save it correctly, or whatever value your Backglass monitor is, if it's not available in the drop-down list. And then just exit out. You don't need to save, just exit out of that. And then when you start the program, the Backglass will be the correct size and ratio. You can just go to this here to start again. We're not going to change anything. We're going to use it as it starts. Okay, so this one stars by this guy Mark 1 is not very hugely graphically intensive. It doesn't use a lot of memory. It doesn't take a long time to load. Okay, now this is what it looks like when it loads. You might think, what's going on there? This is actually right. This is the standard size and this is the standard layout. So what we're going to do is we need to change this briefly in order to get it looking right on our layout, which basically means on the keyboard you press scroll lock. You can see here this says monitor adjust mode. And it means that we can translate and scale the main playfield, and we can translate and scale the back box. Translate means move. Okay, so I'm going to just move this. I might speed this up on playback for you, but by using page up and down, we can change the option, and by using the numeric keypad, we can move this around. Okay, so we're going to translate the main playfield. We're just going to move that over and move it up. That's 6 to move it to the right and 8 to move it upward. Okay, so we've moved it roughly into the middle, and we've moved it roughly about a third of the way up the screen. So by clicking page down, we can go to scale. Now 8 will scale it upwards, like this. 6 will scale it right, and 4 will make it smaller, 6 will make it bigger, 8 and 2 is the same for the height. Okay, so we want to move it until we get it fitting nicely. So we just swap between translate and scale until we get it so that it actually fits nicely onto our screen. Okay, so we're going to move that down a little bit, and then we're going to make it bigger. A nice full backglass and a nice full playfield. If you were playing this in landscape on a PC, there's a scoreboard here. It looks okay in the corner of a landscape. You might want to see that, because the likelihood is you're not using another screen to look at your backglass, so you need that scoreboard. We don't need a scoreboard in the cabinet, so we're just going to move that out of the way. So by pressing escape or coming back out of that, we come back into the editor. Now the editor remembers the settings that we've just put on that, so if we go in here and we save, it'll save that updated resolution and position for the screen, which is, we don't need to do anything. And that's one of the reasons why you want to be using a copy, so that if something goes wrong, you can always go back to the original. Square on the layout there is that scoreboard. Now what we can do is we can remove this. If you delete it, there's a chance that you might break something. It might be some sort of code in the script which relies on this. But so we don't need to delete it. We can delete it, but what we're going to do, we're just going to select it. We're going to highlight it. Now we're going to right click on it, and because it's locked. The guy's locked it, but we're going to move it out of the way. We also want to move these numbers, which again lock, and drag those out of the way. Now by putting them up out of the playfield area, it means that they're still there and it's still part of the code, but we're not going to see them anymore. So let's save the file again, and then what we'll do is we're going to restart it and see how that looks this time. And there you go. So that's great. Exactly as we anticipated, remember the size, got that thing out of the road. So basically we're gonna come out of that. You need to do that setup with every single table that you download. So if we're just going to show you another one here, this is Indiana Jones, and Indiana Jones has these various support files, as we were aware when we unpacked that from the zip file. So we're going to start that one, and again it goes into the editor. We're just going to start the table straight away. Now, because this is graphically intensive, we're going to expect it to take a little while to load. So let's just let that get on with it. Now you can see here we've got a similar issue with the size and the layout, and you will get this every single time. It's not a problem. It's a feature. So we're going to again do the same thing. That's scroll lock to bring up the options to resize and move the screens around. And then we're good to go. So if I want, I could put some credits in there, start the game. Okay, we've got all the samples and what have you in there. Okay, so I'm going to drop back out of that, come back into the editor. We'll save that so that when it reloads next time, it'll remember the playfield position and the backglass position as well. The one other thing here is that it also had the scores in the corner. So if we can remove that if we want to do that in the same way as the previous one. And I've done some other ones earlier as well. I just moved them out of the folder there just for demonstration purposes. And again, just on the button here, add a credit. I don't know how many credits you need to start the game, but that will start the game. And this is our plunger. And as you can see, it works correctly. Another stonker. It looks awesome, you know. And the fact that this is free, done by enthusiasts, it just makes it all better. I mean, if you're a money type of guy, you might want to donate to some of these websites and some of the guys that do this stuff. Okay, so that basically is how to get it running. Now, whenever you're working with these programs, emulators, whatever, you make sure you get the emulator up and running correctly, like this, before you start messing around with the front ends. But basically, now that that's done, we're going to use that in the PinballX front end. Okay, so now we've got Future Pinball up and running, and we're going to add it to our PinballFX front end. Now, I know some of the guys will talk about a different front end, this pin-up popper thing that I haven't had a look at yet. I'm going to get this thing sorted out, and then we'll perhaps move on to looking at a different front end. But let's get this up and running first. So we've installed PinballX, and we've gone through the basic settings. Desktop mode, we're not using desktop mode because we're using it in a cabinet. Display settings, so just very briefly, we've got the main display number 1, which is this one here, the first one in the layout. Display number 2 is the backglass display number 2 in the layout. So we're enabling the DMD. Now the DMD is the backglass display. It is not the small dot matrix screen. This is not a real DMD, it's our backglass. The window, we're choosing full screen. I don't know if you can see all the settings I've got there. All of these are just the standard settings. We haven't really done anything apart from to enable a backglass. Backglass is 00, the width is 1280, now the height is 800. Now the actual height, 1024. But what I've done is by choosing the height as 800, that means the top half of the backglass screen, 800 pixels, will be for the backglass display. If we go to the DMD setting, we're going to choose the bottom 224 lines for a dot matrix display. once we've set up our display, we can come down to the list of pinball games. Now, Future Pinball is already in there. So click on Future Pinball, and you can see here there's a range of settings. Enabled, yes, that means that we now have it in. Once you've got the emulator up and running, enable it in PinballX, and it'll look. The working path is where we installed it. See PinballX, emulators, and the Future Pinball thing. The table path, see PinballX, emulators, Future Pinball, and tables folder. The executable file is Future Pinball exe. Parameters, default. You don't need to change it. You don't need to start thinking about, oh, what parameters do I need to pass. Now, these parameters allow PinballX to start Future Pinball without the editor. Basically, it'll just kick straight into the table that we want to start. The FP RAM path is, if you want to remember your high scores, direct this to the FP RAM folder in PinballX emulators Future Pinball, and that folder exists already. That gives PinballX all the information it requires in order to find our game and tables. The next thing that we need to do is go to Pinball Game Manager. Now, this comes as part of PinballX. Start that up, and you can choose some from the list here. So if we look at the Future Pinball, now it's seen that new or missing tables. It's got a database already, and it's found some more tables. Of course, we've just put some files in there. So do we wish to add them? Let's click yes. I've had to come out of it and just go in it just to refresh it there. But you can see here now, this Star Trek game is only the media, and that's installed as part of PinballX for demonstration purposes. But as you can see, the games that we've put in there, Yoda, Stars, Spyro, the Sci-Fi Classic game, and the Indiana Jones and the Addams Family are all there in there. I just want to show you very briefly here, in the settings, PinballX FX2, I've disabled it, and Pinball Arcade, I've disabled it. Now, that's because I don't want to be scrolling through tons of games to find those few that we've just put on there now. Under normal circumstances, that would be enabled, but just to show you, and you'll see what I mean when we start PinballX. So let's do that. There you go. So you can see straight away what I was trying to explain. Within the PinballX settings, I've said that the backglass is 800 pixels tall. And you can see that on the top there, that the top of the backglass contains the video or image or whatever. But the bottom 224 layers pretend dot matrix display. And you can see here that the tables that we have in folder are in a list here. So we've got the Sci-Fi Classic, Indiana Jones, Addams Family, Yoda, Stars, Star Trek, and that is a media demonstration for the PinballX. We don't have that game installed as yet, but we can get that. So let's just take a look at this one here. We're going to look at Indiana Jones. Takes a little bit of time, so let's just load Yoda. And again, I've got it set up on here so that within PinballX, this button is the same as starting. So let's just see what happens when we start Yoda. As you can see, a little bit concerned that this uses some samples from Star Wars. If you upload a YouTube video, it's got music, then YouTube immediately scans it for copyrighted music and can flag it, and the fact that you're playing Star Wars music means that they can flag the video and delete the video. So I've just muted that, but as you can see, the sound is working fine. I've resized it. Again, this one started off as a little dinky thing in the corner, and the backglass wasn't there, so I've resized it so that it fits perfectly inside the backglass, and the playfield fits perfectly in the playfield monitor. I'll come back to the PinballX front end here. So there's no media, so the name here is the name of the file that's in the folder. So you need to change the name of the files in the folder, and then it'll show the name that you want here. Or you can download media files. That means that you can have the pretty picture, you can have the backglass video or the backglass picture up on there. And that's about it. Okay, so if you have any questions, please make a quick note in the comments, and like and subscribe. Thanks guys, see you next time.